Well, hey, it's more seasonal impressions with Digi and May. We just watched the first episode of Nande Koko ni Sensei ga.
Or why the hell are you here, teacher?
A show about a guy who, wherever he goes, his hot-ass teacher seems to just be there for no reason.
In compromising positions, and they do the nasty.
Well,
A nasty.
they're getting closer and closer. They're being shipped pretty hard by the show.
By the universe.
So this very much falls into the category of softcore porn. There's tits. They're unfortunately censored. There's what we have on the site we were watching on was like you had the regular episodes and then a less censored version, which just means up to nipples but not showing nipples. I don't know where you'd have to go to get the uncensored.
I mean, the show hasn't been fully broadcast and hasn't been released on DVD, so...
Yeah, probably when the Blu-rays come out. What this reminded me of the most is a show from a few years back that I think kind of started a trend of shows like this. That was My Wife is the Student Council President, or something like that, where it was about a guy who was set to be married to the Student Council President, and basically each episode was just about them having sexy hijinks and almost fucking. Chapter after chapter. Generally, I think the appeal of these, because, like, it's weird. You feel like, well, I could just go watch porn. But, like, usually these have pretty good character designs, and that's, like, the main appeal, is that they're better drawn than most porn is. It's really funny. In the world of live-action porn, it's like, the better looking you are, the less outrageous of shit you have to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're not the best looking, you have to have some kind of gimmick, some kind of thing that can be done to you, or you're like in a lineup of 8 fucking women who are all getting fucked, or like, you know, you gotta take 70 cocks. But the better looking you are, the less crazy shit you have to do. If you're good looking enough, you could just be a model. You know, you don't have to have sex with anybody. Or if you're not that good looking, but you don't want to have sex, you can dress up in cosplay. So... you know, with anime porn, it's kind of something similar, where it's like, if you're a good enough artist and you can write a halfway decent story, you don't have to draw actual sex scenes, which means you can get published in bigger magazines, which means that you can get more money. It's a weird system. It's weird how, like, making a more watered-down product will allow you to reach a bigger audience, even though, like, why would anybody want that by comparison? Like, why would anybody want to watch the non-pornographic version? The reason I explain all this is that other show, it had originally been a 1-volume porn manga that had full-on sex scenes, and then they just did a less pornographic version of it that had tits, but no sex, but it was in a real magazine, and then it got an anime. And so this show gives me that same vibe.
Japanese dream.
Yeah, I guess so. Get into a magazine. In this case, it's like, you could easily imagine a pornographic version of this.
There is probably going to be an uncensored version of this with at least nipples.
And, like, the character designs are good enough that I feel like you could watch it and jack off to it without it having to be porn, because the characters look good, you know? Sensei is pretty hot.
They usually look good.
Yeah, not always.
I wouldn't give this show, you know, I wouldn't put it in the category of, oh, the characters always look great. It's like, it's serviceable.
No, not always. But the baseline designs are really good. And when they look their best, they look great. And there's some animation, not a lot. But it's, you know, the situations are somewhat... Like, I would give this on the hotness meter a, like, yeah, it's fairly hot. But, like, it's also a comedy, and I think the comedy, for me, detracts from the hotness of it.
I mean, yeah, the first bit was, like, them going to the bathroom.
Yeah, the first bit was a bathroom sketch. Then there was, he had to give the teacher a suppository. That was probably the hottest one.
It was pretty good.
Because, like, she has her full fucking shit out, you know? But then in the second episode, because each one's a 2-part, 12-minute episode. In the third one, it was her up on his shoulders. It was like kind of hot, but it wasn't that hot nor that funny. And then the last one was them in the pool, and that one, aside from the censorship, was pretty hot but not funny at all. So it's like you're always in this balancing act of like the funny is kind of taking away from the hot, and it's not that funny most of the time. Occasionally it's a little funny, but nothing's like gonna make you laugh out loud. So I don't know. I couldn't see watching this whole show. Not that I could with any of these, because always I just come away like, why don't I just go watch porn? Like, what the hell's the point? These, it feels like maybe these are just a starting round. Like if you need to get worked up, this would be a good way to do it. Because usually I just go to 4chan. Like if I want to get myself in the mood, I just go on A and then like find hot pictures, and then that gets me like, uh-oh, gotta go look at porn now. Or just thumbnails. Like when I'm trying to find what I want to look at, just looking at thumbnails gets me worked up, you know? But I could see one of these shows being like a good way to start. Like throw on an episode, you know, you got 12 minutes, you get a little worked up,
for your
then you go watch
sesh.
porn. Yeah, or your sex sesh, as the case may be.
I don't know, I just think some people just don't want to watch porn, but want to get what they get out of watching porn.
Yeah.
From not watching porn.
What do they get out of it if they're not jacking off?
Well, you would assume that they are jacking off, right?
I can't, like, not enough hot things happen in an episode of a show like this for me to
not
get
enough
off to it.
Not all people are as mind broken and disgusting
True.
as you.
I don't know how long most guys take to jack off.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know. The show is only like 12 minutes long.
Yeah, and it's split into half episodes, and each scenario is not that long. Like, there's a lot of joke. You know,
there's a lot of build up.
There's a lot of comedy before it starts really getting sexy.
It might be like 3 minutes of like, you know.
Yeah, and only a few money
material.
shots. You know, only a few shots that would actually make you pop off.
The money shots are good. You can like pause and.
Whoa. I guess so.
I see a tit. I see a half of a tit.
I feel
this is great.
I mean, if there's a manga version of this,
probably...
It probably looks better, you know. Not that the
yeah.
anime looks bad, but the manga version probably looks better, because usually a story like this can only succeed if the manga's really pretty.
This anime looks best when it is
pretty.
Still.
Yeah.
So you would probably assume that it's better in manga.
But, you know, I definitely think there's, like... these character designs are definitely going to appeal to a lot of fucking people.
Yes.
Like, they're all pretty, you know, big-breasted, full-bodied women, but, like, nothing ridiculous. If you can draw a girl with huge tits that I think is hot, I consider you to have done... Like, you must be a god of drawing big tits. And this show, I thought the girls were hot, even though they had big tits. So, like, if it gets my seal of approval, I know it's going to basically be hot to everybody. Unless you really, really are adamantly against big tits, but you know that's going a little too far for me. I might be into smaller tits, but I'm not gonna fucking reject big tits outright.
How many people who are like completionists with watching seasonal anime are just completely disgusted and turned off by shows like this? But like,
whoever,
make them
if you are one of those people, then stop it. What the fuck is wrong with you? I am disgusted by the idea of somebody being a completionist of seasonal anime.
Reddit bros who are like, oh, I want to watch all the seasonal anime, and then
exist.
You know, they realize that like there's 3 shows every season that's like this, and
I mean, the thing is, most of those people don't really take it that seriously or care, but they do totally watch them.
Yeah.
I've known people like that before. And they've been like, yeah, I hate those shows. But, like, they're not, like, offended that they had to watch something they hate. Because they watch literally fucking everything.
I could think of, like, an ANN writer who, like, gets stuck with this show.
Well, yeah, I mean, the problem there is that they don't try to hire on people who like that shit. You know?
I mean, most of ANN staff are women right now, too.
Yeah, well, that doesn't mean anything.
No, it doesn't.
You're a woman. You could write about this show.
I'm not offended by the show. I thought it was pretty, you know. It was pretty...
ANN needs to hire you to be their fucking porn writer.
They would not hire me.
Well, they wouldn't hire me either. I tried long ago.
I already come out swinging at Mike Tool on Twitter too many times.
Yeah, that's true. All right, that's it for this one. Let's watch another fucking anime. we just got done with watching the first episode of Senryuu Shoujo.
Amazing.
What did you think of the anime show known as Senryuu Shoujo, May?
Oh boy.
You don't have
Please. I am nervous enough on these things. I will fuck up counting and people will make fun of me.
What did you think?
Oh boy.
I was surprised this was a 12-minute episode.
Me too.
Because it was very slow and slice of lifey and plotting, and then it was suddenly over. And I was like, oh, I thought I was going to pass out watching this, but wasn't long.
Wasn't long enough for me to pass out. What good is it for?
I'm glad anime is getting shorter.
Yeah.
As I get older and my patience... Well, I think I'm more patient of a viewer than I was when I was younger, but, like, I just don't have time. So I'd rather watch shorter shit that doesn't, you know...
I mean, it's nice to see studios kind of experimenting with... I don't know if it's necessarily an experiment, but kind of, doing something different. Some shows are better told in shorter bursts.
Yeah, I don't need it to be 22 minutes if it's something like this where... Yeah. Like, this could be...
I mean, if it was longer, it would have felt more like it was self-serious, more, dramatic. Like, the characters aren't deep.
No.
They're just, like, stereotypical ideas of, like, the shy girl and the delinquent.
The unintentional delinquent, we'll say.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they got more going on, and we just were introduced to them. But, I don't really care.
No. Well, I'm surprised a little bit, because I thought you would find this girl super #relatable.
No.
No? You don't find her relatable at all?
No.
The way that she described why she doesn't talk as being that, like, there's too much stuff gets jumbled in her head and she can't figure out what to say, seemed like something you would say.
Yeah, and it is, but it doesn't mean that I feel like I relate to her, because I feel like I don't care that she feels that way, and I know that isn't really a good enough reason to say that I, wouldn't relate to a character or whatever. It's just like, she's so boiled down to like...
It's like an extremely cartoonified version of a social anxiety, basically.
Yeah,
like, I mean, there's nobody
I don't think it has anything to say about people who are this way, because this is an unrealistic way for anybody to communicate.
Yeah.
I think it is a fun idea for kind of like a dramatic-ish comedy. But if if the subtitling can't even hold up that end of the bargain.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. It's not the show's fault.
No, it's not the show's fault at all, but it does, it does make it kind of cringeworthy to watch.
How hard would it be to put all the subtitles in haiku format? All you have to do is write the subtitles in 575 form. You can do it on the fly. It's not hard. Like, you don't have to make it sound like a poem. Just match the syllable counts. Econ was complaining about that on Twitter when this show first came out. I think that this show, a lot of what is the humor is just very Japanese, and maybe it would be funnier if you have a tighter grasp of the language. Like, there's one part where she just takes this kanji and transforms it into a person's face, and I don't know the kanji or why that might be funny. I think what disappoints me sort of is that the haikus are so basic. Like, the characters don't try to make like poetic or metaphorical haikus. They literally are just talking in 575 because it's easier to think that way, which I guess is kind of interesting. As like, oh god, can I get through this without saying the word autistic? Is it possible? I guess I've already dropped the ball.
You don't need to say it.
But like, just the fact, like, I think that's an interesting method that I would actually recommend to autistic people. Like, hey, do you struggle to figure out what you want to say? just limit yourself to a 575 format and figure out how to say it in that within those parameters, and then you can lock down your language more easily by just simplifying
Yeah, but she's not
everything.
saying it, she's writing it down.
Right. She's communicating through literally holding up pieces of paper that say, but like my point is simply that they're not written as poems. They're just
No, they're just
statements written in 5, 7, and 5
Yeah.
syllables, as a way of trying to basically make it so she doesn't have to think about sentence structure or exactly what she's gonna say. It's just like what words fit into this format, and I can boil it down and say it easily. Might be a good technique for some people. I could see it. I can't see it like working the way it does in the show, where everybody just kind of accepts it and like nobody even seems to think it's that weird. Like there's, oh yeah, she just she just doesn't know how to talk. She just talks in fucking haikus, and I'm like, okay, I guess I guess present the world that you want to live in. That's fine by
That's
me.
fair.
But yeah, it's pretty boring. I didn't get much out of it. I wouldn't watch any more of it.
No.
You have any parting thoughts?
It sucked.
Put it
I
in
wish-
575.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't like it.
I
don't
want
like
to watch any more Senryuu Shoujo. I don't like it much. There you go. Alrighty, we watched the first episode of Kono Oto Tomare, which is a show about playing the koto, the gigantic big guitar, big Chinese guitar thing that I guess is supposed to look like a dragon. This is one of the more like hardcore club shows that I've seen. Like that was what I wasn't expecting. If you look at the picture of this on Mal, it looks like it's gonna be like some washed out colors, like sentimental, like cry porn
Like
kind of
Caroline,
shit.
April.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. It's not. It's very much a shonen, like bunch of boys beating each other up and having tragic backstories and lots of yelling and that kind of thing.
Lots of passion.
Like, it gave me strong Jump vibes, and then I looked it up just because those vibes are so strong, and it is from Jump Square,
Jump Square.
which is the monthly Jump that
Which is
had
just
like
more
Blue
Jump.
Exorcist and stuff like
It's
that.
the most Jump.
It's like Jump Square, because I generally like Jump Square because it's like stuff that's a little bit more out there than Shonen Jump, like stuff that's similar in style and tone, but like the ideas are a little weirder, like
Yeah.
being a show about a koto club. Like you don't really picture that being in Shonen Jump, but when you watch it, it feels like a Shonen Jump series, with the way that the characters are portrayed and everything. Maybe that's why it was so predictable to me, where I was literally like shot calling on this show, like, oh, he's gonna see the sign and he's gonna go and save the kid, like all that kind of stuff. Like it was just very formulaic, but not necessarily in a bad way. Just it was predictable to someone who's seen enough shows like this. It's goofy. It's kind of cheesy. It's pretty over the top. It looks like ass.
Yeah.
Like, immediately when it started, I was like, God, I hope this show isn't good because I don't want to have to look at it.
It's kind of eye-searing.
It's got I hate the
The
pants.
plaid pants, they're usually never done right.
No.
Just the technique they use to color them just looks really sloppy.
Well, and they're like swamp green. Like, what the fuck? Like, the color design of this show is awful. It's not really animated that well. The character designs are not good in any way to me. Like, it kind of seems like they're meant to be a bunch of pretty boys, but they're not that pretty. There's like a lot of clear yaoi shipping undercurrent possibility here. Like you'd expect from, what the fuck is that show with the volleyball?
Haikyuu?
Haikyuu. Like that kind of pretty boys who are a little too close so that you can write doujins about them, but they're not that pretty. But like it still feels that way, And yeah, it's. I mean, I enjoyed it more than I expected because it was so like loud and aggressive that characters are just beating each other up the whole time, and you know the main character, well, the delinquent guy's backstory was like, you know, had some. I don't know if I want to say depth. I'm just gonna say there was a backstory. You know, like maybe I could call it compelling. I don't know if that's true. It's a Shonen Jump first episode, like through and through with the way the characters are presented. It's like one of those 50 chapter first episode kind of, or 50 page, I mean to say, 50-page first chapter episodes. Um, so yeah, I thought it was fairly enjoyable, but it was like I could not see watching any more of this. Like I already feel like I get these characters completely. Any arc they could possibly have, I know exactly where it's gonna go. Like I can't see how there's any mystery to be uncovered here. Anything that would, you know, like if the baseline viewing experience was higher, it might be worth it. But like, it's so ugly. The music is really cheesy and overdone and bad. The voice acting is cheesy and
Did we ever
overdone.
hear the Koto in this episode?
No, there was no Koto playing in this
That
episode.
is a problem.
It definitely
with a
is.
show about a Koto club.
There's a scene where I thought that they were gonna have the delinquent guy like bust out a Koto jam, but like I also get the feeling we're not gonna hear any kind of advanced Koto playing until maybe deep into this show because they're not like experts at it. Our main, the main guy joined the club because the previous generation, like the four girls who were in it before, all sucked. So I can't imagine he's any good. And then the other guy, his granddad made kotos, and he was starting to learn the koto, but we've had no indication of his. I mean, maybe in episode 2 it's revealed that he's like fucking masterful, and that's like the idea is like, oh, we're definitely gonna go to nationals because it turns out our guy's fucking amazing. And there are like 6 other club members who they have to recruit, going by the OP and ED. Maybe some of those other characters are fun. I don't know. I wasn't left curious.
There's a fat one.
I'm sure this show is fine. Like, I have no problem with it. It's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, if somebody tells me this show is good, I'll believe them, but it's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care enough
None
to watch
of the girls look like they're gonna be cute or fun.
Or relevant. It looks like there's just
Right.
girls so that you can say there's girls in it.
So it feels too gay.
Because, like, you're watching the ED, and it's like you see that there's multiple female members of the club, but, like, then there's group shots of the club that are just the guys. And you're like, okay, so it's just like a bunch of boys being boys, and there's a couple girls who happen to be there,
Yeah.
you know, like, nominally, which is usually how it is in, like, shonen sports anime, which this is probably going to be formatted something like. So, yeah, I don't know. If it didn't look like total ass and sound like total ass, I might be inclined to watch a second episode, but as it stands, it's kind of like, yeah, all right, it's fine. Maybe I'd read the manga, but I mean, then you don't get to hear any Koto
Did you
play.
feel like the
Not that I
episode
did.
dragged on? Because, like,
It felt very
at a
long.
certain point, I was like, can we, wrap this up? And it just
Yeah.
felt like they kept having, like, more of that backstory to, like, to
Yes.
show us. And it's like, how much is there really to the story?
I mean, it's the thing is that with shonen manga, it tends to be that the first chapter is like 50 pages long, and like a normal chapter is 20 pages, or in Jump Square maybe 30 because it's monthly. So like it usually the first episode is adapting that whole first chapter,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so like it crams a lot more in. So you just have so many things going on to try to like fully introduce you to the story all at once, so that you like you really feel like you get what this thing's about and where it's going before it continues. And like I definitely got that sense, like I felt like I understood these characters very well, but they also were pretty cliche. So like there was a lot of times, like I said, I was literally calling out what was going to happen before it happened. But yeah, it did feel like a long ass episode. But I mean, I didn't get bored enough to stop it, so I'm not, it's a lot better than most of the shit on this season or any season. This is actually a pretty okay season. There's been watchable shows.
Yeah.
We're not probably going to continue any of the 3 we just talked about, but none of them were bad. None of them were offensive. They were all just okay seasonal fluff, But I think that's it for this episode, unless
I
you wanted to
think
do another
so.
one. You don't want to do
Not
another one. I can
really.
tell. All right. See you in the next one.